Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Government Secrets, episode 91, with the two most censored comedians in the world, Lee Camp and Graham Elwood.
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's good, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, someone in the chat said, are we learning this week that some other horrific historical figure that Lee's related to? Hey, the creator of American football is not a horrific American hero, but I mean, American figure. But I'll do one better. I don't know if this goes down as historic American figure, but I want to promote that my brother's movie is now the top-rated movie in America. It's got 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone go out and see Marcel the Shell with shoes on. It's less political than some of my stuff, but.
I've seen the trailer for it and it looks awesome. And it's this character, I guess, that your brother or Jenny Slate had been doing for a long, like they did short videos and then made it into a feature basically.
So when they were together, I think they were not yet married. They came up with the video and they showed it at a stand-up show. And then he put it on, it was like a 10-minute short, and he put it on Vimeo and it got like millions of views. And then I said to him, dude, you should put it on YouTube. People make a lot of money by putting it on YouTube. And he was like, YouTube's for like low level stuff. This is high quality, man. And I talked him into putting it on YouTube, and then it got 60 million views. So.
Well, that's, first of all, an indication that you know it's not political. Because there's no way YouTube would let a political thing get that many views.
Right.
Unless it was some type of political thing that was dividing people. But if it was our type of politics, there's no way anything we're going to put, they're going to let it get 60 million.
Very true, yeah.
So that's awesome. That's very cool.
Anyway, I just had to throw in a plug. Since someone wanted to hear someone I'm related to. So.
Are you the older or younger brother? I forget.
Older. And I'm taking credit for teaching Dean to draw when he was 3. So I think I was like 6. Wait, I was 5.5 or 6 or something. Wait, 6.5. And I taught him to draw. And then he quickly got better than me by age like 4. And so I promptly quit.
Wow.
I don't think I've drawn anything since.
I think that's amazing. And I just, as you sit here and promote your brother's movie, I'm thinking to myself, my older brother has never publicly promoted or said anything positive about anything I've ever done. And he's never.
Well, here's the thing though. I don't know that mine have either. I don't, not publicly, to friends.
Right. That's true. Yeah. But even when I was like, whatever, doing game shows or the podcast festival, never happened. My Native American stand-up series that I directed, that's on Amazon Prime right now, nah, never. And I think don't you think that's kind of, we're like, one of the reasons we're lefties is we want everything to be nice and we try to help people, and then most people don't give a shit about us. Isn't that kind of the
yeah, there's kind of two groups of like left-wing media figures, you know, that could mean comedians. It could mean whatever. There's kind of two groups. There's a group where it's like legitimately they're like, we could have a world where like everybody wasn't like, you know, desperately trying to survive and like everyone just had it good and we're all like, okay. And no one's fearing they're going to be poor or destitute or they can't pay for medical procedures. And there's that group. And then there's a group of lefties who say all the same shit, but they just realized like that they could make money doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's totally it. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's that group who's just like, they literally just sat around and went, well, what could I make a lot of money on?
Yeah.
You know,
and then you'll see, because they'll quickly shift on a topic. They'll be like, oh, the right-wing topic seems to be popular. Cool. Let's do that then.
Yeah. This stance is like actually costing me clicks or views. Oh, I'm going to abandon it then. I'm going to just bail on that.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Turns out it turns out if I say Donald Trump's a good guy, I get like thousands of views. So yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it is fantastic. Yep, we are proud of you, Graham. Thank you, Venetia. Thank you so much. I don't know what somebody's posting some the gas prices in the chat. Okay, that's good. What else was I going to say? I don't know. I'm sure it was great. What
everything you say, Graham, is gold.
I have to take that stance because nobody of any substance, like any big, I'm, you're just kind of on your own. You know what I mean? And then when you help certain people, you help them, and then other people. All right. What do we want to talk about today, Lee? What fun stuff has our government done that we should all be proud of to be Americans?
Well, are you asking me to go first here?
I can go first. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We never planned this out. This is the thing that would make our.
Oh yeah, if we're like one of those, what are they called? Producers. They would sort this out.
They would sort this out. A producer would say, "Why don't you guys do this and that?"
there would be a 12-second phone call before every show where they go, "Graham goes first," and then they hang up.
Yeah, just something. I've looked at both subjects and I feel like this is the one that should go first, followed by that one. And we go, oh, okay, that's cool. Rather than every week we go, I don't know. Do you want to go first? Or do I want to?
I don't mind going first. So yeah, I want to talk about goat balls because I know it's been like a couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. We've gone a couple of weeks without you talking about goat balls. I mean, this is sort of goat balls are sort of your Epstein, I think.
They're my wheelhouse. All right. I think we can all admit I have goat balls down.
You have a goat balls playlist on your YouTube channel, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I do. A whole category of goat balls. There's men and women are different. Then there's the U.S. government is fucked up. And then there's goat balls. Those are my three playlists. Oh, no. And
then some like celebrity dating controversy.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah.
And you'll just bring this up anywhere. Just like someone will be like, oh, I saw this movie. Yeah, and the thing and the government and the goat balls. Just the way I'm always can tie anything into Epstein. Like anybody.
Right. Right. I'm like, well, Kennedy was killed by goat balls. You know that, right?
Bobby Kennedy had just invested in goat balls the day he was assassinated. So let's just say there's a goat ball connection within the Kennedy assassinations.
So I went a bit adjacent to a true government secret in that the government didn't endorse this for most of the time, but I think it shows where American medical care was in the early 1900s. B, it shows that America was created and the true heroes, the ones who truly succeeded were fucking charlatans and frauds. And
evil. And most of them were evil too.
And evil. And finally, and murderous. There'll be a bit of murder. And finally, there actually we kind of fall ass forward into a true government secret of how they have suppressed third parties going back to the early 1900s. So, yeah, get into all that.
Before we get into that, I don't know anything about this subject, so I'm excited to learn about it. When you say the American government didn't really support it, there's also this gaping elephant in the room of, yeah, and they didn't stop it. There's a lot of stuff the American government sort of knew about. We didn't support it, but you knew it was happening and kind of went, yeah, I don't know. What are you supposed to do? We're just the federal government.
Yeah. We passed something a few years ago that said something. Yeah. So let's get into it. The man's name is John Brinkley. Sometimes known as Dr. John Brinkley, although as we'll get into, never a doctor.
So just already built on a foundation of lie, like typical of any American thing. It starts. Well, page one is a lie.
That's why they call it the American dream, is because like literally you can just come here and just make shit up, and some people are successful.
And people want to believe. They're so, like we talked about this last week with the 50-star flag of like Americans have been sold this American dream and anything's possible, that they're so easily duped by these crooks, these charlatans who aren't even real doctors, because Americans just want to believe in all of this hocus pocus. They can't wait. They can't wait to drink another glass of Kool-Aid. They just can't wait to do it.
This fits very well into the American fraud story that was the 50 stars last week. So John Brinkley, this guy, this is early 1900s. And you also, going into this, we should recognize that medical and healthcare in general in the late 1800s, early 1900s was fucking garbage. I mean, they were still sticking leeches on people's heads to, try and fix their personalities. It's a lot of crazy shit going on. But
is that a polite way of you saying I need to put a leech on my head, Lee? Is that what you're saying? That my personality?
I actually thought that's what that was, where the hair comes down. I thought you were trying to cover a leech.
This is it is my leech. It is my leech cover. I put a leech under here and then I cover it with my Superman curl.
Which, the amount of hair I have, I have a whole ferret that's just clinging on back here.
A ferret. This is okay. All right.
So John Brinkley, 1911, 1912, he sets up a storefront business in Greenville, South Carolina, with a man named James E. Crawford. The two opened their shop as the Greenville Electromedic Doctors. So electricity was just becoming a thing then, and people thought it had all these magical curing abilities. So then people started saying, oh yeah, if you touch, I can put electricity through you and cure your cancer and all this shit. Like, it was the stuff of the day. And, we laugh at this stuff, but still today people sell dietary supplements, which I want to do a whole episode on dietary supplements, but sometime. But it's equivalent to the electricity that we still sell it today. We're just like, yeah, it has ground up cockroaches and it makes your eyes really good. That happens today. So yeah, I don't know, how much can you laugh at people that were like, oh, it has electricity in it? That'll help me. Anyway, the two open up a shop, in Georgia, and they placed advertisements to attract men who were concerned about their manly vigor. They injected colored water into patients for $25, which is the equivalent of $700 today, to basically make the guys get hard easier, because they said it was electric colored water.
Wow. I mean, this is like again, like P.T. Barnum, there's such a, when you uncover America is built by people that have a scathing disdain for humanity. Like, literally, they're like, these people are so dumb.
Right.
I bet you I could sell them red water for $25 a shot and tell them it's going to give them an electric boner.
And they have no problem with whether it harms people, whether it doesn't help people. Doesn't matter.
They're so just like, it's literally like if you watch the Elvis movie that's out, Tom Hanks plays Colonel Tom Parker, who's just like, it's another way to take take money away from a rube, to relieve a rube of his money. Like, he says that throughout the whole movie.
And I just learned this the other day. He literally was a carnival barker.
Yes.
Like an actual carnival barker.
He was a carnival barker who had a fake, he couldn't leave. He got to this country illegally. He didn't have a passport like that. His whole thing was a scam. That's why he was like, we don't need to travel, do internet. Elvis never did international shows because this grifter couldn't
really.
Oh yeah, you got to watch the movie. If this movie hadn't been made, I would do a government secrets on it. But now it's out. Like, he was such a scam artist.
Wow.
Like, and he just pumped Elvis full of drugs and just made him do 1 million shows in Vegas. And Elvis hated it and he felt trapped and he wanted to express himself creatively. And like the last time he was able to do that was the 68 comeback special. There's a great, I mean, I knew all of this before the movie came out. He's saying that song, If I Can Dream. Dr. King had been killed in April. And they were like, so Dr. King had just been killed in the middle of rehearsing to shoot the special. Bobby Kennedy was killed. And Elvis is like, I got to say something about this. And he sang the song, If I Could Dream. And it's this beautiful song. And it's trying to give hope in a dark world. And, you know, the Colonel didn't want him to do it. The Colonel wanted the 68 comeback special. He wanted, that was supposed to be a Christmas special.
Well, and also it hurts, any political statement hurts your possible income.
Yes.
So he wants the money. Yeah.
Right. But anyway.
So in 1914 or 1913, they skip town because they're behind on rent and they leave like, they leave like 40 merchants, like owing the money, and they just run out of town. So he gets a diploma from a diploma mill, literally a type of place where you just give them money and they say, you're a doctor. Here it is. Here's a certificate. So he becomes the doctor in Milford, Kansas, because they say they need a doctor. And he tells them he is one. Both of them lied. Milford lied about the number of people there, and he lied about being a doctor. So he sets up shop. And at some point, he begins testing out implanting a goat ball into a man's testicle sac in order to give them renewed virility and the ability to have kids.
Are goats known for like being really horny? Is that,
dude? Have you heard of horny goat weed or what? It's literally on the cash register at every gas station.
I thought it was a plant. I didn't know it was their actual like nads, like powdered goat nads that you had to take.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. Yeah. And Pan, the character of Pan, is a half goat, but I don't know. I don't know whether do goats fuck a lot of things? I have no idea. Oh, don't they? Oh, don't goats fuck tin cans? Isn't there something about that? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll have to get to the bottom of the goat fucking a tin can secret. We got to really uncover that one.
So he begins implanting these goat things and goat glands into, and basically what he's doing, although he claims he's connecting it up to their system and connecting all the blood vessels and everything, he's not. He's just fucking basically sewing it inside the skin and leaving it, and it's not connected at all. But the placebo effect works on a significant number of these men who now think they are more virile. So they go, oh my God, it worked. So then he starts enlarging what it's supposed to do. And then it becomes like, oh, it cures everything. It can cure cancer. It can cure this and that. Just fucking shove a goat ball in. I don't know if you remember the Portlandia sketch, Just Stick a Bird on It. This is just stick a goat ball in you. Whatever ails you, stick a goat ball in and it'll fix things. So it begins getting national attention that he's doing this, and and people are paying the equivalent of $10,000 for each procedure. And he's got a line of people in Milford, Kansas, just out the door having goat balls stuffed into them. It's not that it was one weird quack alone in a town. This became a national fervor. So in the true sense of American, Trumpism, I'm not just gonna be the sensation here. I'm gonna do A, B, and C and be everywhere and become even richer. He then develops a radio station that becomes one of the first radio stations in Kansas and first really successful, larger radio stations. And it's a programming of entertainment, medical advice coming from a non-doctor who's shoving goat balls in everybody. He diagnosed all the nation's illnesses. And then there was a lot of evangelical Christian shit as well on there. Soon he's reaching a nationwide audiences. He's treating 50 patients a week who would travel across the country, paying like the equivalent of $10,000 to have their goat testicles shoved in them. And he says
this hurts my dick hearing this story. Like, it just hurts my. I'm literally holding my dick right now because it hurts just hearing this story.
Now imagine it's 1915 and you not just do you hear it, but you go, I got to get me some of that.
I don't want any procedure happening on my dick.
End of statement. Never has a truer thing been said by Graham Elwood. I don't want any dick procedures being done on me.
Ever. Good night.
Good night. And scene. So, you know, and a lot of people, a lot of men are running around saying this thing works because they have some placebo effect. And probably there's a lot of cognitive dissonance where you don't want to believe you had a goat testicle put in you and it didn't work.
Like, oh yeah, you got to be like, I'm not going to tell people. I'm going to look like a chump.
Walking around with an extra ball, going up. You know, obviously these are men who want to have a lot of sex, so going up to women saying, "Hey, how great is this thing?" You want to say it worked. You want to say it wasn't a quack.
Oh, I just hope they're just walking up to women, just zip. Look at this guy, huh? Look at this goat ball. Right. Look at this third fella we got hanging around there.
So not only is it not working, like it's not curing cancer and all this shit, but on top of that, so slowly some people start to come after him and start to try and stop him. But they find out that at minimum, I think it's a very low estimate, 42 men had died from this procedure.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he signed 42 death warrants himself, which means those people died like in his operating room. Who knows how many probably went home and may have died later. But that doesn't even count the fucking mass number of shit that went wrong and like fucking infections and God knows what else. And it doesn't count the number of women who laughed hysterically and left the room.
Or the number of women went, wait, is that a goat ball? And then
yeah. No, that's my extra special ball. That's
wait, do you have 3 balls?
Yeah, but one's silent.
The silent ball.
One's a silent partner.
Oh God.
So he ends up having clinics and hospitals in several states. Then a guy in California who's has some connection to the editor of the LA Times thinks this guy's a fraud and says, I want to bring you to California and have you perform the procedure on the editor of the LA Times. And if it's successful, then I will give you, the editor of the LA Times will give you a front page ad, basically article talking about your amazing new development. And if it fails, then we will crush your career publishing articles about how you're a quack and a sham. And he fucking does it. He flies to California, or what? I don't know. Did they fly back then? No, he walks to California. He takes a rickshaw to California. He performs the procedure on the editor of the fucking LA Times.
Okay, right there. The editor of the LA Times is now the dumbest person I've ever seen in my life. Like, to make that all, you're an idiot. Just fry the guy, do an investigative drill, just say, yo, I want to do this on me. So somewhere the editor of the LA Times went, maybe this is right. I'm going to have a serious goat owner. Like,
I mean, could you imagine this today, even with any other procedure? If it were just like, yeah, removing an ear that makes you happier. And the editor of the LA Times was like, come do it to me and I'll let you know.
Prove it. Just prove it. Like, you're an idiot to sacrifice yourself. I'd be like, no, I don't want this. This looks like it's bad. God, man. The
So,
LA Times has a long history of being stupid.
Graham, pop quiz. Do you want to know how the injection of the goat ball into the editor of the LA Times goes? Do you want to guess how it goes?
Oh, let me guess. Hold on. Let me guess. It goes great. He becomes the first porn star, and just that's the first when movies are invented.
Oh, you've seen Three Ball Monty. Oh, yes.
Three Ball Monty. Yes. The first black and white, a silent porn movie where he runs around with his
it's you know, it's not a talkie yet, so it just has words written on the screen. While
the piano's playing, ding 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 ding, and he's just whipping out his goat cock and throttling chicks with it. Yeah.
So you got part of the answer right. It goes great. The editor of the LA Times says it worked like a charm. And they then publish a front page article about how goat glands are the answer.
No way.
Yes.
No. What?
Yes. We've reached the silent portion of the episode where Graham stares off into space.
Here's what happened. It went horribly, and the editor was like, I'm not putting in the news that my dick's not working anymore. I'm not putting that in the front page of my own paper because I was too stupid to just say this guy's a fraud without getting the dumb procedure. That's what happened. Come on.
No, goes great, gets an ad in the LA Times, has a booming business. However, by 1930, which is at least over a decade after he started this, the Kansas Medical Board held a formal hearing to decide whether Brinkley, and by this time he's a very rich man as well, Brinkley's medical license should be revoked, and concluded that it should. And they stated that Brinkley has performed an organized charlatanism. 6 months later, the Federal Radio Commission refused to renew his station's broadcasting license, finding that Brinkley's broadcasts were mostly advertising and that he broadcast obscene material, probably a lot of talk about goat nuts, and that his medical question box was contrary to public interest. So
wow.
He turns to politics, and this is the part where it's definitely even more government related.
Of course, a full-on liar fraud goes, you know what? I've been run out of this business. Why not go politics? That makes sense. Of course, that's of course. He had two choices. Well, show business really was just starting. So that's where you go. When you're a liar and a fraud, you either go to politics or Hollywood,
right?
Or Florida.
Right. Hollywood or politics or Florida. So he runs for governor of Kansas in 1930. Now, he's a third-party candidate and running independent. And do you think they, as a third-party candidate, first of all, it is perfect that the fucking charlatan and a fraud and everything runs for governor of Kansas, and that he's rather popular. And simply, even if he weren't a fraud, simply that people were like, listen, this guy's been putting a lot of goat balls in dudes. I feel like he'd be a pretty good governor. I mean, clearly he knows his goat balls.
It's not, I mean, would anyone, that like the guy who invented Viagra is like, that guy should be governor? No one's made that leap of logic. Like,
right. So he's a third party. Do you think they let him on the ballot, Graham, as a third party candidate?
I'm going to say no.
No, they don't let him on the ballot. So he runs in a write-in candidacy for governor of Kansas. Now, going into the election, election's coming up a couple of weeks out, it seems that he will come close to or could even win, judging by their polling of this write-in candidacy. So, Graham, do you think the two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, that have a lock on our entire political system, do you think they let him run a legitimate write-in candidacy if it looks like he's going to win?
Of course they do, Lee. We have a perfect, thriving democracy where freedom and the will of the people is always on display. We are currently living in that right now. And I really am appalled that you would even suggest anything as cynical as that our two parties would subvert the democratic process, because everybody involved in politics, especially the two parties, cares more about democracy than just winning and money.
So I gave you half credit on the last question. This one you got wrong, actually. They,
what? They what? What? Lee? What? Lee? What?
I'm sorry to inform you. 3 days before the election, the Attorney General of Kansas comes out and says that votes for write-in candidate Dr. John Brinkley, or John Brinkley, if you know he's not a doctor, will only count if you write in the exact way that he submitted his name to run for office, which was as J.R. Brinkley. If you write in John Brinkley, it doesn't count. If you write in John R. Brinkley, it doesn't count. If you write in Dr. Brinkley, it doesn't count. It only counts if you write in J.R. Brinkley, and 50,000 votes are thrown out.
Oh, man. Gee, votes getting thrown out. It's like, has that happened like recently, like in a Democratic primary in 2016?
Right. And has it ever been done against someone who the Democrats did not feel should be in their primary, perhaps?
No, let's see. I can't think of anything. It's weird. And I certainly can't think of any doctors today that are like going on, I don't know, I'll just make stuff up, YouTube to push some sort of maybe let's say there's a big pandemic and there's a vaccine and they're just pushing crazy stuff out there because they can't get anybody else to believe them because they're not in any legitimate medical journals. Anyway, you were saying something about some stuff.
Or Dr. Oz, right? What a heap of shit he's been.
Dr. Oz, yeah, any of these TV doctors, they're just like TV preachers.
Dr. Phil's not even a doctor, is he?
No, he's not. Dr. Phil isn't a doctor. He's a goddamn carnival barker.
How is it Oprah? I mean, not that she's not her own version of carnival barker. How is it she got duped into just, I feel like she buys into all of these carnival barkers.
Well, it's good. If you're a carnival barker, then you need to support other carnival barkers. You know what I mean? Because if she's, like, that's what she does. That's her whole platform, is just like getting people out there, and she's got to push her circus. So she's got to support everybody else's circus. Like, everybody go to the circus. It's good. It's good.
So he was, he was rigged out of winning the governorship. They continue to come after him. They destroy his business, rightfully. I mean, he was a fucking fraud. He runs for governor 2 more times and cannot win. He then moves his headquarters. Oh, they take away his broadcasting license, which became one of his big money makers, was his radio. So he moves his operation to Del Rio, Texas, on the border. And he begins. Oh, and he was one of the first radio stations to have advertising. So he kind of started the advertising thing in the early 1900s.
Of course, radio ads were started by a fake doctor. Like, that's just, there's America. How would you describe America? Oh, radio ads were made by a fake doctor. Like, that's
that's on the back of the flag. Yeah.
It's literally, that should be on the back of every dollar bill. Like, radio ads were made by a fake doctor, and then the Illuminati symbol. Like, that's what it should be.
In 1938, Brinkley sued the editor of the Journal of American Medical Association for libel. In the trial, Brinkley was finally linked to a diploma mill, and it was finally discovered that he had no formal medical training, resulting in the collapse of his practice. During his last years, he was sued for malpractice, indicted for mail fraud by the federal government, underwent an IRS investigation, forced to declare bankruptcy, had 3 heart attacks. It's funny he didn't put a goat heart in. Brinkley died May 26, 1942, had amassed millions of dollars at the height of his career, yet died sick and nearly penniless. However, essentially by accident, because he was trying to find ways to continue to promote his goat ball business. He was an advertising and radio pioneer who didn't just begin the era of advertising and charlatans on the radio, but he also began the trend of, if you can't get a radio license, having a radio station in Mexico broadcast so powerfully that it broadcasts into the United States. Congress at one point passed a law just to stop him from broadcasting from Mexico, called the Brinkley Act, that was meant to make it illegal for him to call on a telephone into Mexico, which would then broadcast via radio back into the United States. However, at that time, he then switched to pre-recording his radio show and delivering tapes, a new technology, to Mexico to broadcast his show. So he didn't need the telephone. So therefore, their Brinkley Act did nothing to stop him. And he kind of invented podcasting.
Oh man, I actually love this guy now. I think he's like, he's my new hero. Minus the goat ball shit, but what he did with the radio and circumventing Congress, like, just take away this creepy goat ball murders, and then honestly, he's a pretty innovative guy.
Graham's new bromance is with a goat ball injector who had quite a radio program. Oh, by the way, all of the early 1900s, like not all of them, but many early like 1930s, like Western musicians, like the Carter family and others, they got their start on his radio station.
See, like, look, we've all, you know, I spent a night in a Chicago jail. This guy injected goat balls, but other than that, he's, you know, I mean, like, we've all had a bad, you know, we weren't our best selves. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, I spent a night in Chicago jail, and I helped produce the Los Angeles Podcast Festival. I'm very proud of that fact.
Snorted powdered possum. But that doesn't, you know, that's neither here nor there. I was talked into something that I don't agree with now. But you know, we become something different than our earlier years. And this is the country that goat testicles built, is how I see this.
Lee, look, I'm a prime example. I used to drink, you know what I mean? I used to eat meat. I used to get drunk and spend nights in jail. And now I'm this like vegetarian, sober hippie. And that, you know, who's trying to do the right thing and be honest.
Talk people into taking off their clothes on a game show on television. And
yes. And that guy did goat ball surgery. Okay, so we're no one's perfectly, you know what I mean? Like, I did basic cable game shows where people ran on hamster wheels, and then another show they took their clothes off. But you know what I'm saying? And I got drunk and married a stripper in Vegas. But that's that guy. I'm not that guy anymore.
Everyone thinks that's a joke right now.
I know. It's not a joke, for sure. Everything I've said is true.
Graham actually lived the movie The Hangover. Many people do not know that.
When that movie came out, I was like, they must have, I know Zach knows my story. I mean, Zach knows I got married a stripper. I was like, he must have told Todd Phillips something about that, because I did that.
Zach has never paid up for the writing of that film.
I need a little taste. I need Todd Phillips to send me just a little taste. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man. Listen, we've all done things we're very ashamed about. I'm
not ashamed of any of that, Lee.
I used to write for the Huffington Post. So, you know, we all have done horrible, horrible things in our past.
I phone banked for Obama, so we've all done horrible.
Yeah, listen.
That's the thing I'm embarrassed about. The night in the Chicago jail. Well, you know, everybody gets a little nutty on St. Patty's Day, but you know what I'm saying.
I actually injected goat testicles in people for Obama, and I'm not proud of that, but
it raised a lot of money. I'm just saying, like it was a good fundraising.
Every person has a different way of campaigning or helping out, volunteering for the campaign. So,
I didn't force anybody to do that. They did it of free will, and the technology on goat ball surgery is very much advanced from what it was in the 30s.
Oh my God. You could insert 2 or 3 into a guy in 10 minutes.
It's outpatient now. I mean, it's basically just an outpatient procedure.
Outpatient. It's over the counter. You can just fucking, you ever seen an EpiPen? It's like that, except with goat balls.
It's like an at-home goat ball thing. You can buy it at a CVS. I mean, they're right there. Like it's
the injection is like getting hit with a paintball. They just fired at you out of a gun.
There's just that goat ball gun. It's right next to, you know, where you put the thing in for your blood pressure that kind of seizes up in your bicep. The guy just comes out with a paintball thing and shoots you with a goat ball. Ow, shit. Okay, all right. And then
and dude, before the pain even subsides, your heart is a rock. It's amazing.
When the blood pressure machine goes up, that's also talking about your dick is like, yeah, ready to go.
Your heart is a rock. You're voting Obama. It's crazy.
All right. Well, this was a fantastic story, and we now have a new hero for government secrets. It's Dr. John Brinkley.
We certainly have a new. Oh, by the way, you'll like this middle name, Romulus. We certainly have a new representative of America. That
Romulus, I'm going to just call him Romulus. Dr. Romulus Brinkley is the new mascot of government secrets. He's the hero of all heroes.
Yep.
He's not the hero government secrets needs, but it's the one it deserves right now. No, I fucked that up. It's not the one they deserve. It's the one they need right now.
Right.
All right. So that was government secret segment number 1. Goat balls. All right. Folks, hit the like button, share this out on your social media. If you're listening to this on one of the platforms, positive reviews and likes, all that stuff helps. And of course, go to patreon.com/government secrets. Let me do my. So, I was doing my standard thing that I do on the morning of a government secrets is I just go see what awful shit the CIA did. And I went on.
You just start a website for this.
And I found, and I don't know if this needs to be, I think this is going to have to be 2 separate segments, but I found an article in the New York Times from 1976. Okay. April 27th, 1976. And CIA this is the title of the New York Times article. Secretly owned insurance complex and invested profits in the stock market. And what this article, and I'll go into it, I don't know if they were, I think it's probably the bulk of the article actually goes into how the CIA was infiltrating the clergy and universities, and LBJ passed a law saying they're not allowed to do that anymore. And they did it anyway. And then there was a whole senatorial hearing in the 70s and again in the 90s saying they weren't allowed to join. So we got to like the clergy thing. I feel like that's a whole separate episode. I mean, like they really, because as I was reading this, it's like, oh my God, it's more tangled. There's more stuff to research. I was like, wow. But I want to, I just want to read you. This is from, again, the New York Times in 1976. So had the New York Times been hijacked by, you know, the ruling elites and the deep state and the CIA by 1976? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I find it curious.
I'd say so. Well, that was the era of Operation Paperclip, wasn't it? Not Paperclip, Mockingbird.
Yes, you're right. And 75 or 76. No, yeah, because he was appointed under Ford, was brand new young buck CIA director George Herbert Walker Bush. And Gerald Ford, who of course was on the Warren Commission. So that's just, I think you're right in that we were already into.
I would say the big difference of the newspapers back then is they they had been fairly heavily captured and infiltrated or whatever, but they still had like, there would still occasionally something would come out like the Pentagon Papers, where the government was very not happy that it had come out.
Right.
And that doesn't really exist anymore.
No. And yeah, there was a clear, like, the government is not happy and pissed off. And the American people are like, wait a minute, you guys can't do that. You know, like, and the American people were behind the journalists. I think the relationship with journalism is so contentious in America today because Americans know that the journalists are protecting the powerful, you know?
Yeah.
So the Central Intelligence Agency secretly owned a complex of insurance companies whose profits were for years successfully invested in private securities, according to a final report of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Activities. So, and I want to go through this probably on a separate episode, the whole Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Activities. And I really want to see who was involved, what senators were on it, who was on the committee that was designed to go, you know, there's always someone on the committee that the CIA has, you know, one of their boys that's just like, well, I don't know that all we need to, you know, like,
well, and also, even if there's not, even if they're like not, it's not actually fully captured. Imagine you're a senator, a congressperson, you have this committee, you have a bunch of things, even if you're a genuine human being, let's say you're not a corporate shill fully, you know, you're like a genuine human being, and you have these things you want to accomplish. Why would you think, you know, the fight I should pick is the fucking CIA?
Right.
Like, you're basically writing the death knell to your time in government, possibly your life. Like, they just kind of know that it's like self-censorship. They just kind of know that's really dumb for me to go after the CIA.
Well, that's also where you put it in, and that's a great point. You put it into the historical context. You're a senator in 1975, and literally 7 years ago, you saw Bobby Kennedy get killed under mysterious circumstances.
You saw a lot of heads pop on TV.
Yeah, you saw a lot of guys that were like bucking the system, like, and you have at least some level of security clearance as a senator.
You saw Kennedy, you saw JFK's head get hit from the front, and then them say that he got shot from the back. You saw that happen.
Yeah. You saw like all this witness testimony where they said no, like the 21 Secret Service agents that, like, we covered this in the JFK and the Unspeakable, the 3-part series that you did, where it's like the 21 Secret Service agents were like, no, we saw a front entry wound. You know, we all saw it. That Jackie Kennedy saw it, and you see all those people are like, and the Warren Commission goes, I don't know. People say crazy things after an assassination. Like, you're a senator who has access to this. You saw the Warren Commission worked. You heard what's whispered in the hallways. And so you're going to go, like you say, it has self-censorship. And we see it, you know, I've talked to indie media YouTube people. Like, when I got demonetized a year and a half ago, several people that I know that were like, ooh, and they pulled back on certain stuff. They pulled back on it. They pulled back on Epstein. They pulled back on Epstein, or they pulled back on, you know, when talking too much of the war stuff, they pulled back on it. And then some of them did some stuff that they thought was going to be outside the lines, and they got a lot of clicks and views and went, oh, and they were sort of like, that's when, you know, when they do stuff that's supposedly controversial, but if it keeps people divided, then they don't get deplatformed. But again, I've heard YouTube
right. And you know which kind of conspiracy theories, I'm not saying they're all incorrect, but you know which ones are fine to talk about, because you'll see video after video about them, like the fucking endless array of videos about the Great Reset. It's not that the shit that, like, the World Economic Forum talks about isn't bad, but they wouldn't give speeches about it on video if they were worried about you talking about it.
Right. And that's totally acceptable, because the Great Reset people, you know, there's those conspiracy shows, but they also have videos about whatever, flat earth or aliens or whatever. So it's like, they're not going to throttle you because you're just out there in the ding dong Alex Jones world, and they'll let you thrive over there, because your
Ancient Aliens is on fucking Discovery Channel.
Yes. Yeah. It's, you know, like the alien stuff is yeah, it's a legit conversation, but the way a lot of those conspiracy shows do it, you know, the lizard people and whatever else, and the Great Reset, it's fine because it's like the thing you and I have talked about. People and some of those conspiracy people think that the ruling elites all get together in some castle and map out everything throughout the year or whatever. And they have this grand scheme versus the constant greed. There's a bunch of greedy billionaires fighting with each other in certain instances. So going back to this, like legitimate, and this is not crazy conspiracy of the World Economic Forum. This is documents of the Central Intelligence Agency that gets tax money to fund it, creating fake insurance companies. Like this isn't some crazy, this is real. That's why it's
insure people.
Yeah, they actually insured people. They were functioning companies. This is the thing. These purchases, which included the stocks of American corporations, that were apparently acquired, the report said, without the knowledge of management or other stockholders of these in these companies. So the CIA formed these companies. They own them. They like either bought them out, and some of them were pre-existing, is my understanding, and some of them I think they created, but they built, and they had legit people in there who thought, oh, I'm on the board of directors of this insurance company, and meanwhile, the CIA
don't know they're owned by the CIA.
Yes, they don't know they're owned by the CIA. And then that's just the first. This is the thing that's interesting about this article. The first two paragraphs talk about what is said in the title of the insurance companies. Then the rest of the article, the committee also found that the agency has continued to maintain secret relationships with several hundred faculty members at American colleges and universities, despite a directive from President Johnson 8 years ago that banned covert associations between the agency and scholarly institutions in this country. These instances were among a number of uncovered by the Senate committee, in which the CIA's operations, directed chiefly at the collection of foreign intelligence, had substantive impact on a variety of domestic American institutions over the last 3 decades. So I'm curious as to why the story talks about fake insurance companies. They only spend 2 paragraphs on it, and then literally the rest of the article goes into the universities and religious groups like churches. So the committee found the agency, in attempting to influence world events and opinions to provide cover and security for its employees, had to organize and support its clandestine activities abroad, had established a complex and sometimes tangled network of covert relationships with the academic, business, religious, and financial communities in this country. Like, so I'm curious about 2 things. One, the information in the article, obviously, but 2, that the topic. Now, this isn't a physical newspaper, so this is before clickbait, or right. So now we know that the reason they do this on a so you just read the title, read maybe a paragraph or 2, and then you don't scroll to the bulk of it. Like we've seen that in numerous like smear pieces, and then the last paragraph has something like, but some people don't believe that this is true, and there's some facts to maybe support that. But they just bury that in the article. But this was still probably buried because back then it was like, oh, this person's going to read this on the train into work, or at the coffee table, or whatever, the breakfast table or whatever. So they're going to read maybe the first page of it, but they're not going to flip to page 23 to read the rest of the article. Like they were already realizing that. It said, so it said it included several hundred relationships with American citizens. So It found some real or potential improprieties in the agency's ownership of ostensible private corporations, which is the insurance companies, and its continuing relationship with American citizens, including several hundred scholars and professors. And I got to tell you this story. So my dad was a German theater professor. He spoke fluent German. He was a theater professor, and his PhD was in German theater history. So he spoke fluent German, and he got 2 different Fulbrights, which for people who don't know, those are research scholarships. One in Berlin in the 60s before I was born. I'm the youngest of 4. And then the second one in 1975 and 76 and both times were to teach and to study and to research in Munich, Germany. So my family lived in Berlin before I was born, when the wall was up, and in Munich when I was a kid. And my dad told me when we were older that because he was flying to Germany all the time, that somebody approached him and said, hey, would you be willing to just overhear stuff at some cocktail parties? Because again, this is back when it was West Germany and East Germany. Like there was West and East Berlin. And they contacted, and my dad said this, that they reached out to him. And my dad, and I started to put this together when I started doing this, my Political Vigilante show. He told me that they reached out and said, would you be willing to just, listen at some cocktail parties in Berlin?
To like gather information for the CIA.
Yeah. And he was like, and he said no, because my dad goes, I read a lot of spy novels. He goes, I don't want to be in that world. It's fun to read those novels, but I'm just a school teacher. I don't want to do that. My father also was in the Air National Guard as a code breaker. So I'm like, did they target him for that? And he was, and my dad was a very like honest cat, like almost to a fault. So is that why they targeted him? Or did my dad work for the CIA and he didn't tell him? Like, I don't think he would have told us the story that they approached him and he said no. If he worked for them, he just never would have told us that story. That's my guess.
Right. It would, because it would get people asking questions.
It'd get people asking questions. I think he would have just said, he never would have brought it up.
Right.
So I believe him that he said no, but I was like, wow. I think if my father is telling the truth, which I believe he was, they wanted my dad to be one of these hundreds of scholars and professors to go collect information.
Basically, like apparently Houdini was.
Yeah.
Houdini was asked to perform at all kinds of foreign governments and stuff, and he would just report back like what he saw. I'm sure.
And it's like, I mean, they had to do a huge background check. I mean, any comedian that performed in the war zones, they did a huge DOD background check.
And I mean, there was a time where like reporting back for America, you could probably be proud of that. Like when you were up against the Nazis and shit, there was a time where you could have been somewhat proud of that.
Yeah. And again, my father grew up, he was a child during World War II. So he grew up with that. Like one of his older brothers fought in World War II.
That's pretty cowardly to be a child during World War II.
Yeah, it was cowardly. So, I mean, my father, who was a big lefty peacenik, joined the National Guard because he felt it was his duty to serve his country, because he grew up as a kid in World War II, where it was like you say, if you were asked, if he was a college professor during World War II, he would have said, oh, absolutely. Like I'm sure he would have said, yeah, this is, I'm going to help the war effort. I'm going to report back, on stuff that I'm hearing. So and I think he still had some of that. Now in the 70s, he was a college professor at University of Wisconsin-Madison, where there was a huge anti-Vietnam War effort. And he started to realize, oh, wow, the Vietnam War is bullshit, Watergate, the Kennedy assassination. Right. Like he saw all that as a young man, like in his 20s or 30s, and was like realizing this is nonsense. Yeah. So like, I think he was already at the place of like, yeah, I'm starting to not trust my government. Like he was raised in that apple pie, trust your government, right? And everybody's,
yeah.
But so this is, Someone in the chat said I should write my autobiography. I've had an interesting life. Yeah, I have had an interesting life. I saw Dachau at age 6. I saw the Berlin Wall at age 6. It's yeah. I'll never forget East German guard towers with machine guns. I'll never forget looking at that. And then all the little grave sites along the wall. I'm like, what's that? Those are people that tried to jump over the wall and they got gunned down. Like, oh, cool. Like, Germany seems like a messed up place is what my
yeah.
Which is why, like, any pushback we're getting from venues there makes me want to go there even more. We won't get into that.
But at age 6, you were like, I think Dachau was pretty good, but it didn't hold up to Auschwitz. There were a couple of places I felt it was too on the nose in some areas.
Yeah, that's what it was. I wasn't 6 years old going, what the hell world was I born into? This place is horrible.
Right.
Like, age 6, I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't trust humans. Yeah. I'm out. That's cool. Like,
I'm gonna steer clear of these human things.
No, I'm gonna pick a profession where I'm all alone on stage, and then I just get into a car and leave. Like, so that's, and there's more to this story, and we should probably do it I should do it on a separate episode going into the actual infiltration of the clergy. But I wanted to point out that this insurance companies, what they would do is then take the profits from the insurance companies and funnel them back into the CIA to fund operations.
Right. So they didn't have to ask the U.S. government for it because they didn't want the U.S. government to ask questions as to what the fuck they were up to. But that was back in the time when the U.S. government might ask what they were up to, whereas nowadays.
Well, this Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Activities, there's no way we're not going to have another one of those now. If we did, it'll be a complete kangaroo. It'll be worse than the Maxwell trial.
I'd love to walk into that office. It's just an empty office with like a rotary telephone in the middle of it.
And just like one of those boards with magnets that you can like put together sentences like on a fridge. You know what I'm saying? That just... Let's just say, I'm hungry for ice cream. The CIA infiltrated companies or whatever. Like,
and there's like one intern working there, just like making coffee.
Yeah.
Like,
what's your job here? I just am supposed to make coffee every 2 hours.
I'm supposed to answer the phone, but it hasn't ringed since 1976.
But this phone doesn't even have a dial tone. It's not even working. Yeah, they're trying to get on that.
I don't ask questions. There's good benefits.
Yeah, the benefits are great. I always duck out early, and I usually take a half day on Friday, so no one bothers. So it's kind of great.
Dude, the parking validation stamp, they just give it to me. I can stamp my own validation.
Dude, and we're near the stadium. So I'll just come here on game day and I'll park for free. And then I walk over. It's fucking great. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. And what this does, and that's why this was so like, oh man, this is just this is opening up. I mean, this is a rabbit hole because if as you said, you make a great point. If they're taking the profits from a like either a shell corporation and funneling it back in. So we could just assume they just did this with a couple insurance companies and they didn't do this with any other businesses ever. Let's go to sleep. Episode's over.
Actually, we could do a whole episode on this. The CIA's now has a venture capital arm called InQtel that helped create Google. Like,
oh yeah. And Google is all just data collect. If you read When WikiLeaks Met Google, it's all Eric Schmidt is basically a CIA spook who's just Google's whole purpose is data collection for the intelligence community. I mean, I bet you we uncover this. You're just going to find out like Six Flags, Great America. That's the CIA, you know, so they can just see like what funnel cakes people throw up on this roller coaster so they can use it to torture people in Gitmo or whatever. Like, I was like, this man, did I just pull a string that is gonna like uncover everything more so than like I was like, wow. And that's why, like you say, in the same way these senators didn't want to pull back, I'm sure the New York Times was like going into this article, but it's still just repeating what the select committee came up with. There's no like deep dive. It's not like the
Right.
New York Times journalist went the way, because you and I, we read this and we all of a sudden have 15 more questions. We were like, okay, well then this is probably this and this, like we just said. The New York Times is doing that thing of like, well, this is what the Senate said. Okay, now next page, there's coupons for shoes. Like they just like just, you know, it's like, we reported it. We said we did our jobs.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night. Like,
why is it telephone book starting in the D's? Why is that? Why is that pages 13 through 17? And then it appears to be a transcript from Mary Tyler Moore show, I think.
Oh, Lou, you know, just what? Oh, what does that have to do with anything? Exactly. Like, so we can all assume that the CIA, in addition to getting its budget from the U.S. taxpayer, is off the books, probably has its funding. It's probably it's making $1 billion a year through all of these whatever fake corporations that it owns to keep its funding. Because that's all the CIA has ever wanted to do, is be completely autonomous and not have to answer to the president, which is why they killed JFK, and Congress and the Senate. And now they don't have to, because it's like, you know, government money, there's usually some type of paper trail. But if you're just like, wow, we got all these fake corporations, it's like
well, and now that there's $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments at the Pentagon, there really is no paper trail.
Right.
They're just like, oh, in the New York Times, my favorite was the New York Times put out an article trying to defend basically the $21 trillion of unaccounted adjustments at the Pentagon. And one of the key justifications was generals are not great bookkeepers.
Oh my God. I love it. Like, come on, guys. These are guys thinking about how to organize tanks. You can't expect them to work a calculator. Like
literally the idea that well, this guy, he really knows how to go to war. So he misplaced $21 trillion. Like
you're trying to tell me I'm supposed to go into combat and know where my wallet is? I mean, like Lee,
and know where 21 trillion wallets are.
Look, I mean, I've said this before. Look, I've lost it. I remember I found at least 5 trillion under my couch. I mean, it had been there for a year. I didn't even realize it. There's $1.5 trillion in an old jacket. You know, I haven't had to use a winter. I haven't gone skiing since before the pandemic. There's probably a couple trillion in my ski jacket. I mean,
of course. Oh God, the ski jacket. Yeah, of course.
I mean, let's.
My dog chewed up. I think it was 2 trillion, and I didn't even know it.
And look, if you can misplace $21 trillion and not miss it, clearly you don't have the money to hire CPAs. That's why the bookkeeping has to be done by these bungling generals. I mean, they're good at a couple things.
Or the other great moment is Defense Secretary Gates. He served under Bush, I believe,
and Obama.
Maybe I think he continued under Obama for a bit.
Yeah,
but he tried to crack down on waste at the Pentagon, and then on his way out, he gave a speech. Like standing at a podium saying, yeah, so I tried to figure that out, and he goes, it was impossible. And one of the things that always stuck with me is he said, it was tough to even find out how many people worked in a department in the Pentagon. Not only can they not find where the money's going, they don't even know who fucking works there. Like
the Secretary of Defense is like, I don't know. I mean,
so if anyone out there is looking for a job, just go up to the Pentagon, say you work there. They probably won't be able to prove you don't.
Yeah. I'm going to call up the Pentagon today and go, hey, I used to work there. I'm owed a bunch of back pay. You know, I think I'm owed at least 250 grand in back pay.
They probably just leave a Black Hawk on your lawn. They probably would. This is just give them a Black Hawk.
Look, we don't know. Just take the Black Hawk, sell it on Amazon or eBay, whatever.
So there's if you paint it a snazzy color, you can sell it on Etsy.
Well, Etsy has a whole Black Hawk and
pull down menu.
Yeah. A pull down menu of all these Black Hawks. I think there's some Apaches on there too. Really fun Apaches that can they can blow up a whole city and
oh dude, cultural appropriation is the rage on Etsy. You can get an Apache helicopter and feather earrings for they come together as a joint gift.
Well, those are both great things to take to Coachella. Like
one gets you there, the other gets you laid.
That's right. Maybe it's which one's which. You know what I'm saying? I'm not driving in the 10 freeway from LA out to Palm Springs. I'm going to take the Apache. And then if there's too big of a crowd, I just, Apache's good at crowd control. Let's just call it. And we'll just clear out a little space.
Yeah. You fly it low enough, you chop some heads off. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just the sound of it just makes people scared. You just shoot off a couple rockets. I bet you I could get us front row seats. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so next year Coachella's on me.
By the way, I'm only half kidding. They did at one point, the military found 39 missing Apaches or Blackhawks.
Again, a Black Hawk, it's like a little toy. I mean, it's easy to misplace. Like if you ever had small, I don't have kids but my nieces and nephews, when they were little small, they'd have these little toys and dolls. They get lost all over the place. That's the same thing with an Apache helicopter. That's a 2-seat weapon, death from above. Like, of course it's like
you can definitely lose one in your couch cushion.
Easy.
If your couch is the size of the White House.
Right. And has enough armament on it to level downtown Denver. Yes, then you can have an Apache. So, please, you guys, before we close up the episode, we're going to start a GoFundMe for some accounting software for these generals at the Pentagon that are having a tough time.
You know what? Listen, if there's one thing I learned from Dr. Brinkley, this is how America works. You send us the money, we'll get it to the Pentagon. Just send all the money to us.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really going to try to scam the Pentagon out of money. I want to say this publicly. Dude, I really want to just
fucking Steve Bannon and those other dudes. They started whatever it was, GoFundMe to build a wall on the Mexican border and just ran off with the money, which of course they did. Of course they did. But I love that people donated to that. Steve Bannon was like, give me money. I'll build the wall. Just give me the money.
It's so fantastic. Steve Bannon is he's this generation's goat ball doctor.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Who also created podcasting. Well, that's, well, folks, we're going to go, please go over to patreon.com/government secrets, and we'll be over there in a couple minutes. And we do a members only live stream. You can support the show for as little as $5 a month. Everybody gets the same content.
Also, you can get a mug. Go get a fucking mug, you assholes. Jesus. God damn it.
If you buy one of these mugs,
do we have to push these fucking mugs?
Yes. If you buy one of these mugs, for all the guys out there, it makes your cock rock hard and a foot long. This mug,
it comes with a goat's testicle.
It comes with goat testicles.
We got to warn you, they are not washed off.
It makes anybody, male or female, just a sexual dynamo if you buy this. Just a hot sex farm. Just everything's great.
Hot sex farm.
Whatever you think.
There's a lot of sex. Listen, that mug has put a lot of backs on mattresses. All right.
Oh man, this mattress. Oh my God. This is like.
Oh, I forgot we have a mattress cam.
We have a mattress cam. Real quick before everybody leaves, let's get a quick bump from the mattress cam, everybody. Yeah, mattress cam. Look at the mattress cam. That's just for you guys. Thank you for supporting our show. Check out Ron Placone and I on the road this month. We're going to the Pacific Northwest. Portland will be there July 28th. Seattle will be there July 29th. And Vancouver, Canada, we will be there July 30th. Get your tickets at GrahamElwood.com. Also, this Sunday, if you happen to be in Waikiki, I'm doing a show at the Blue Note. Again, go to GrahamElwood.com. Lee, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No. Folks can check out all my shit at leecamp.net. Actually, go become a member at leecamp.net as well. But, if you want our extra content, I'd love to see you over on Patreon.
Go to Patreon right now, folks. We will see you over at patreon.com/government secrets. And this has been Government Secrets, episode 91, fake insurance and goat balls. All right, buddy. I'll see you over there.
Later.
Bye.